Hello, 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 hello. Today I'm talking with Per Beining. We talked about doing things you're fearful of and telling things to strangers we would not tell our mothers. I'm Yves from Who's Agile. My pronouns are he and him. Welcome to my channel. You see a lot of agilists around me on this screen. If you want to hear me interviewing, please click that subscribe button because these are the people that I've invited so far. If you think I'm missing people, let me know in the comments. And that like button, well, if you liked today's interview, don't forget to click it. Hello, hello everyone, and hello, with me I have Per. Hello Per, good evening I should say.
Hello, Eve. Fantastic to be here. Thank you for the invite and thank you for having me.
And having you, I want to show a little bit, if my screen wants to collaborate, a little bit on where here is. Where is now my mouse? Okay. This is where I am in Belgium. And if we're going and, oops, this is interesting. He didn't refresh. You just gave me a new location for you. So I'm going to move now to Copenhagen or to the exact, well, more or less the exact location, like you say. This is not your exact house for the people that want to stalk, but it's close enough to.
If people want to stalk me, they can call and I'll give them the address. So
That's also an option. That's also an option. So we'll give more ways to find Per back later, and I'll bring you back on screen. And I say evening, so it's 7:30 in the evening in Belgium. What's the time on your side?
it's 7:30 in Denmark.
So we're in Europe, so most of the locations are more or less around the same time zone, and that might be good for people around the world to know as well. And Per, because we know each other we're actually going back for a very long time. For the few people that don't know you, could you, before we jump into the questions, introduce yourself a little bit?
Yes, thank you so much. My name is Per Beining, and you can call me Per or Peer or there's pair programming. So if you're sitting next to me, it'll be pair programming. Talking peer to peer. That would also be with me and perhaps you. I'm from Denmark, 55 years old at the time of the recording. So I'm getting seasoned. Some people know me as the tall Dane. If you've been to a conference with me, you probably would have heard some of the chanting that I'm doing, where people are going into their knees and saying hum, hum. And then I'll be entertaining with a song about the Danish beer is so much better than everywhere else in the world. And talking to a Belgium guy, I'm pretty sure that we could get some arguments going there.
Well, and at the same time, you're very popular at the XpDay Benelux, which includes Belgium, and still talk about beer. I'm actually the one of the few Belgian people that never drink beer, so I wouldn't go even into an argument with you on that. But definitely, there's a lot more. I'm probably that one exception in Belgium that does this. So yeah, and I think indeed we met at XpDay Benelux. I think maybe even at another conference, but definitely we
I think
met
it
each
was
other a lot.
XP Benelux, and one of the things that was and that stuck with me for so many years was the part about your youth and the way that you were home as a young adult, and things happened. So that stuck with me, and I think it's 15 years ago or something like that. So it's been it was in the early days of the XP Benelux.
Jump into that very first question. What is something that people usually don't know about you, but has influenced you in who you are?
Oh, I was thinking a lot about that because and what should I bring up? Should I bring up my parents or should I bring up? So I actually ended up digging into, well, there's probably 5 things. So I'll just quickly go through them and then we can dig into each of them if it's back in the days I was actually in the semifinals for the national Danish championship in electric boogie and breakdance. That was in
Wow.
yeah. I was a young guy back then. I've been brewing beer for the past 15 years. That actually also had an influence on a lot of the stuff that I'm doing. I've been a go-kart mechanic from I was probably 15 to 18 years old. So, well, taking them apart and putting them together and fixing stuff. I can't sing and I can't draw, and people are always hearing me both sing and draw. And at one point, I also created this deck of graphic facilitation cards.
Right.
And I'm not a trained handyman, so I have not trained handyman skills, but I love doing handyman stuff. So those are probably the 5 elements, beside, of course, all of the agile ways of working throughout the past, probably 25 years.
And I seem to sense a theme in it, is that you don't hold yourself back from doing things that you're actually not maybe really good at. Is that a good assumption?
Yeah, that's quite an accurate assumption. Definitely a theme that well, there is this Pippi Longstocking saying about, well, you've never tried this before, so you're probably good at it.
And which is not an official quote, but everybody thinks it's from her. But that's another discussion.
Yeah. And added on that, a definite quote from a guy called Seth Godin is the part: if you're fearful of something, you should probably go do it. And those are probably 2 of the elements. Beside one of my or my top 1 talent, if you take these Clifton 34 strengths, my top 1 talent is optimism. So well, what could go wrong? Why wouldn't this succeed? So yeah, running into the storm with a bucket on my head is sometimes well, the best thing way to get things going.
And where did you learn that trick? Is that something you did already when you're very young? Is that something you've discovered at some point?
Well, I probably discovered it as working. I started as 13 years old, working after school at this go-kart. It was an amusement park where you could rent a go-kart and go around and so a lot of the old guy was I was told back then. So he asked me, how old are you? Well, I'm 13. So and I was told. So he thought, oh, that guy I can buy for €5 an hour, and he looks like someone that's 16. So I was hired. And a lot of the things, because it was his own money, his own amusement park. A lot of the things that I did back then was actually try a lot of different things and probably figure it out as part of my DNA that well, it's possible. And sometimes I did things that was hard and didn't really succeed. And then he sometimes came and said, try to do it this way. So a lot of small failures and a lot of correction feeding in and becoming better at stuff.
And which that at age 13. So yeah. At age 13, you're already getting feedback and yeah, making money in a way. So it's not just feedback on something you do, but actually on making money. And that was so. Yeah, go ahead.
The whole first summer, what I saved up there working a lot of hours was a VCR recorder. That was a big thing back then.
So wow, that because so there is a I was already making an assumption. Was that a goal before you started to work there, that you wanted to own that VCR recorder, or was that just that? Yeah.
It just happened as money accumulated. So that, well, then I wanted something, and then I want something bigger, and this is, well, yeah, this is what ended up happening back then. So
So you were looking at the store. What's the most expensive thing I can buy with this money?
well,
Something like that.
I,
Yeah.
I, I was renting a lot of movie boxes back then, and kind of found out, okay, it would be nice to have my own VCR recorder and capability of showing movies.
Right. I can definitely imagine that helps a lot. Well, that actually you save money again because it means that you don't have to rent that these boxes anymore. So in the end, it was a good investment. So that's really nice. Again, something business wise very smart to do as a 13-year-old. But most 13-year-olds don't have the money to buy an expensive thing like that up front. So again, you learn something. And when you say this was, how did you roll into that? Into that helping that go-kart cart? Is that because you were hanging around a lot, or what?
I was trying to find out a way to. I asked my mother and father if it was okay if I could get a job,
Mm-hmm.
and they said, we're not really sure. So what I kind of did was I went out to the guy owning it and asked, well, can I have a job at your place? And we ended up, yes, I could. And then I came back home and said, oh, now I have a job. Uh,
Wow. And they let you.
yeah,
It's not that they say you can't do it. They were
no,
like,
no.
wow. That's
And I
also
promised to
like,
still well pay attention to school. And this is actually one of the elements that I can see has kind of formed me. The part about to keep the job, I needed to make sure that everything was good at school. So because that was the promise to mom and dad. So and I learned so much about balancing my time and sometimes during the weekends when the others were out playing football or goofing off, I couldn't.
well,
Yeah,
and at the same time, you didn't spend any money because your friends were either goofing off or spending money or whatever, and you were making money. So yeah, uh, and at the same time, it was in a way a smart way from your parents to learn you well to kind of uh, get you caring about school and making sure you had the grades because there was a personal incentive for that. So that is a smart move at the same time, which is a win-win for everybody. So uh,
and
yeah.
having a small job on the side is definitely also one of the things that learned me responsibility. So
Mhm.
yeah. Mm.
That's well, it brings in all kind of things like that kind of thing. And so for how long did you do that? Is that
I did it every summer because it was an amusement park, so it was only open in the summer. So for five
oh
years until I was 18, uh, tiny bit after 18, but then he sold the amusement park, and I moved on with my curriculum life and got other jobs next to school or beside school. So and also in the fall and in the winter, there was a couple of times where I could work some hours helping out. He bought a forest at one point, so he needed a couple of hands. So and that was when I learned how to drink coffee actually. And the thing is that I was freezing my hands during all of that work, and then we came in and had 15 minutes to sit down. And would you like a cup of coffee, Per? Yes, please, because I could warm my hands, and then at the end I couldn't leave it, so I just chucked it down, and it tasted awful. But that's kind of the way that I learned to drink coffee.
yeah, that's yeah, I can definitely see that. If it's although you say it was during summer, but that's
That was in the in the
ah
off season. There was a couple of months there where it was possible
right.
to earn some extra money.
Right. Okay. So that's a different kind of thing. Okay, let's move to that next question. I know you had lots of different kind of things, but I think this is a really nice example of something that has influenced you. And I'm pretty sure with you, I think we can come up with lots of stories for lots of different for all of these questions. So let's move to that second question. Like, if you had not been doing what you've been doing now, do you have any idea of what could have become of you? Were you
Yeah.
destined to become something, or?
Nope. It's. I've been. Well, I was thinking about the question, and looking back from where I'm standing right now, I perhaps would have become a school teacher
Hmm.
or a comedian, so a stand-up comedian.
So an agile coach is somewhere between both of it, right?
It's like kind of that's from where I'm standing. But what I've done over the years, and that's kind of tying into the theme that you also kind of pointed out, where about what people don't know about me, is the thing that whenever I'm becoming good at something, I'm kind of getting bored, and then I'm going into another direction or learning something
Hmm.
else. Or at one point, I had a colleague that said, "Pierre, you're really bad at making money of what you're good at."
Wow.
Because whenever you're becoming good at something, you move on to the next thing, and that was
Hmm.
kind of true until I ended up becoming a agile coach or scrum master or team developer or whatever. Agile Wrangler is also one of the titles that I put on. So
Wow.
so until that point, it was, well, what's the next thing? And with agile, over the past probably 25 years, it's kind of been okay. All of the stuff that I learned throughout the years is come into come into place, and I can actually use a lot of that working with people and actually, yeah, playing a lot of different instruments in my work life.
I really like the way you described it because I'm thinking I can't find the book, but there's somewhere there a book that tells stories about a couple of people who are more generalists who have the same kind of feeling, and some of them are really famous, like doing a lot of odd jobs and thinking like, oh, this is really strange and either not making money or I mean like okay, and then at some point moving on to somewhere else, and then they end up doing a job that kind of combines it in different kind of ways. There's famous painters, famous architects, other kind of people who really like do these kind of things. That's multiple thing, and all of a sudden, boom, miraculously there is something that combines a lot of things. I would say also when you say I'm getting bored when I get it, well, agile, there's lots of things keep changing, so that probably makes it also very interesting to keep working. At least that's what I noticed for myself.
Same here.
There's a lot there. Um,
and and
so
and again, one of my Clifton strengths or top talents, when you look at or have taken one of these Gallup tests, is, well, it's, I think the English word is inquiring. So in Danish we translate that to learning. um, and the thing is, I love inquiring. Exactly, I love learning. So I'm very poor at researching, so my researching talent is very low, but I love learning a lot of new stuff, and being together with people that have the researching talent, actually, well, we can learn together, and then they typically dig into the depth of those things, and
mm,
then we can have a conversation where a lot of the stuff that they researched is kind of pouring in, and my sometimes weird brain then picks up something else and put it together, and having conversations in regards to that.
I really like that. It really shows indeed some of these things. Um, I want to move to a part of that question is there something you were destined to become that's is sometimes also could relate to when you were really young, and because we kind of feel like we started to talk about it when you already started working. But when you were young, was there at some point some kind of dream thing of what you wanted to do, or that your parents thought you would end up doing?
Not necessarily something my parents wanted me to do, but well, when I was again making money, it was possible to buy a small mini computer, something called a. It was not a ZX81, but it was a clone of that. So I think it was called Lambda 8300 or something like that. So a small mini computer, and I could then program some of that. So an element there, and actually before I got that, and that's probably where my interest got, was when I visited the library. They had these magazines with the computer programs in them that was written in
Right.
BASIC. And what I kind of just sitting there, this looks weird, but kind of well, without ever being trained, but got the logic in if a go-to sentence said go to 130, well then go down there and then look at what that is saying, and well the print was kind of giving itself. So that way I got the interest of computer programming, and then with buying that computer, I kind of started programming, and then it took off. And what I really wanted to do was to go into computer school, and that was a path back then, and it was newly created back in Denmark back then when I was 18 and started going there.
Yeah, I think that's also important to mention is by the time, because I'm a couple of years younger than you, but that at that time, yes, computers were already there, and there might have been a few at home with some people, depending on how how much our parents had an interested in that or wanted to do. But what's really interesting is that a lot of these things didn't really exist, and it was just the start. Although computers have been around for longer, because my father worked on the very first ones in Belgium, but these ones were like bigger than my house, or at least my
Yeah,
living room. And so these were the first ones where you can actually do things at home. And like you say, well, without internet, it was really buying magazine, reading the print, typing it in, hoping that you didn't make a typo somewhere. Um, if you were lucky, there were some possibilities, and that's actually a couple of years later where you could have a disc with it, and then you could read off from the disc. But that's a
yeah,
lot
that
more, I
was
would say.
the days back then, and it's sometimes when you're, well, I think I still have one of the old computers from back then, and when you're saying, okay, this is okay, what can it do? Well, not nearly as much as one of the apps on your mobile phone or on your watch. So it was
Mm.
kind of very limited back then, and yeah, but still, that was kind of the fun, the limitation, or the um, what was narrowing down what was possible. That was actually, so the constraint, that was the English word I was looking for. So the
Mm.
constraint was actually giving you the, well, setting boundaries, but those boundaries were helping you to actually become more creative with less, which also because, well, the RAM was limited, so yeah, that was interesting.
I, I really like that it's really showing that limitations might actually help you or make you think about some of these things. So that's again a really important one, to learn, and to see. So and I
And
keep stressing it, well, because yeah, some the younger generations might not know, or might not see that these things
I
are
think
there.
one of my favorite learnings from one of the XP days in Benelux. I think it was either, I can't recall if it was in the Netherlands or in Belgium. I never can. But the thing was we had this well game designing workshop. and everyone was, well, you can do whatever you want. And after 10 minutes, no one were kind of in the groups anywhere. So it was blah, blah, and a lot of the talk. Then the facilitator came and said, you have to use this rope. And they came with a rope, and you have to use these 6 blocks, and you have to use this. And after 10 minutes, everything was happening. So for me, the part about the limitations or the constraints is sometimes, well, there's also a fantastic book called What a Beautiful Constraint, which is, well, think about not having the white paper, because that's typically scaring people. So if we can make some limitations and then open up for, oh, could we have a piece of rope more? Okay, here you go. Oh, that's fantastic. Instead of going out and getting everything in the world, because that's often scaring. And I'm using that a lot working with teams when we want to go somewhere. Sometimes I'm inventing, sometimes they're self-inventing some kind of constraint and working out of that. So sometimes, and I hear a lot of people saying, oh, why is it that we have this? And why is it that we should do that? And oh, if we turn it around and say, okay, with base in that, you could actually kind of like we had these daily December sparks where you were talking, Eve, you remember, but the people probably weren't. But you were mentioning this part about same as ever. So the element when looking into the future of not necessarily looking at all the scary things, or no, the constraint is, what if most of it was the same as today? Then it's not as scary, and it's actually also giving us the possibilities of gazing into, okay, these are actually some of the possibilities that are within that constraint.
Yeah, this is indeed from the book Same as Ever. The premise of the book is more like, when we look at the future, we always typically want to focus on what is all the things that will change, and we'll try to predict. But what Morgan, how's the guy called, Housel, I think, says is that what is much more easy to predict is what will be the same, because we know that some things, and based on that, we can learn from and indeed look at as kind of constraints and use that in this kind of way. I'll link the book also in the show notes for people who want to learn more about that, because I think it's I really love the book. I presented it indeed at your how would I call it, Christmas?
Yeah, we call it the Daily December Sparks. So a thought leader like yourself was invited in and giving a 30 minutes talk, which was fantastic.
Yeah, and what I wanted to say is I was still struggling. What will I talk about? And in the midst of having that conversation with you, I was reading the book and was like, no. This is really it has changed my life. It has changed how I look at things. Even if I only take a couple of these ideas, it's really like, okay, this is something that's really interesting. And again, this is a little bit how I see the interaction with you as well. Like I launch something and you take a spark from it and you go somewhere else, and vice versa. These December sparks were really in that kind of things.
Yeah.
I wasn't able to follow every day, but the ones I did follow were always like, okay, this is something to remember. This is something to see. I think by the time this will go out, probably most of them will no longer be online, I think.
Yeah, we've decided to kind of it was the in December follow them, and in January you had the opportunity, and then due to there's so much video out there that is kind of that is not necessarily being viewed. So we are taking it down. Could be that we'll launch it in something. It could be that we're calling it the Agile April. But the thing is that sometimes in connection with sustainability, taking down videos, not having them up there, could actually do something for our environment. So that was the contract we kind of did with all of the speakers, that it's up there for limited amount of time. So. Yeah, that's kind of And yeah, I did that along with the with Kitty Idling as Iding as you know. So
Yeah. Well, let's move to that next question. What do
yes,
you consider at this point your biggest challenge? At least the biggest challenge that you want to share openly on the internet.
yes.
There might always be things that people don't want to share, of course, but that is your decision what to share or not to share. And on that challenge, why is that a good thing for you? And then I've lost you. I'm not sure why. So let's see.
Or I can see you. I'm back.
Now you're
Yes,
back.
you're back.
You're back.
Perfect. Good. So, what's my biggest challenge, and why is it a good thing for me? That's actually a quite hard question to think about.
Hmm.
I've come up with definitely some of the things, and that's probably back to me being a consultant for too many years, and that's kind of the trait that people are. Well, Pierre, come here. We'll pay you a lot of money, and then give us solutions. So my biggest
Hmm.
challenge currently is not giving solutions, not being prescriptive in regards to how I'm talking or presenting or sharing things, uh, and not trying to know everything. Which is, as a consultant, I can talk about anything with a convincing voice, and people sometimes believe that I actually know something about it.
Well,
Um,
I think you do yourself a disservice. In many cases, you do know something about it,
yeah,
but indeed, um, uh, this I always find this a very interesting challenge myself because as a consultant, we have to sell ourselves. Like, hey, client, I can help you. You have a problem, I can help you. So we need to be in that selling part. And at the same time, we know that the best way to help them is not to give them the solution, but to work with them so they can find the solution. So how do you deal with that?
it's hard. One of the sentences that I picked up over the years is definitely don't steal people's learning from them.
Hmm.
So that is one of the things, that letting people often find their own solutions, or at least saying, I think we should do this, and then reflect with them, is this a good way of doing it? What did you like, what didn't you like, depending on what is the risk of doing something. And sometimes, actually, as Lisa Atkins is saying, well, take it to the team, let them come
Hmm.
up with well, this is our starting point, perfect, let's do it like that. And one of my well, over the years, I've been well, the past 2 years, I've definitely looked a lot into this element of fast, fluid, adaptive scaling technology.
Hmm.
And one of the things that I've so much taken away from that is give a minimal amount of structure. So if we can give people a minimal amount of structure, that will that will keep us going somewhere, give some predictability, and then build and then build and then build. So having the feedback loop up and working, and use our learning. Again, this is the only way to work in a complex system. So it's kind of easy when you're becoming aware of it. But and the thing is, I've also seen other Scrum masters, agile coaches, team developers, or what we call them, don't give people a minimal structure to work in between, and that
Hmm.
creates either chaos or frustration, which is again a disservice to the people.
I'm one of the people who was guilty about that some years ago because
Same
indeed
here.
I didn't want to like you said so nicely, didn't want to steal their learning, but of course you need to give them a head start. And I always say like, yeah, if you can either for me there's two balances. Like one side is that I give you not enough, and the other side is I give you too much, and I'm controlling or whatever. I'm stealing indeed all your learning, and you need to find the right balance. And for me, and I'm trying to guess. Well, how do you deal with that balance? Turn it into a question.
My well, one of my top tips there is when a approaching a new team or a new group of people, I typically ask 5 questions. So, what is working well? What should we stop doing? What should we start doing? If you had a genie in a lamp that would give you one wish, what would that be? And on a 5-step scale, how good are we at delivering or keeping the promises that we're doing? And I give people those questions in forehand. And what I then do is schedule a 30 minutes interview where we're getting through those. Sometimes it's really structured. That's also telling me something about the person on the other side. And sometimes it's going in all directions where I'm kind of weaving back and well, I know I need to get those 5 questions, and then I'm collecting those and feeding them back to the system, to the team, that this is currently what your combined intelligence was telling.
So
And
just that I understand, you ask that question to everyone in the team, and you make
yes,
a kind of story out of that, and then that
yeah,
story you give back to the team.
yeah.
And I
It,
guess you
it,
don't say Peter or Gene said this. No, you just say, as a team, you say this.
yeah, there's a theme here. Could be someone was sharing this with me, or I sensed through the conversations, but never give up one, because the thing here is to reveal the system to the system self, and that element of then they can actually, oh, did we say that? I disagree. I agree. So it's a conversation starter. And from that, it's also building within the team kind of well, who we are and what is it actually that we think. And based on that, I typically then add on, well, my suggestion for a minimal structure, which of course is put in, I think we should be working like this, could over the next couple of weeks be something like this. What are your thoughts on that? So I am kind of doing some of the consulting, but on the other hand, it's like the minimal that I can see could work. Some of them are saying, well, I think we should also do that. Okay, let's try that. And what I'm also promising them is then after a couple of weeks or 3, that we will revisit what it is that we're doing.
But Per, then you're not teaching them anything. They tell you everything, and you give it
Exactly.
back. So,
And the thing is that this is 90%. Well, what they're telling me, there is probably 90% what we'll be working on over the next 3 months or something like that.
but then why do they need you? Why don't they do it themselves?
And that's probably the thing that it's distilling all of the stuff. And if someone from the team were doing this, having a stranger, that's also one of the interesting thing. Sometimes you'll tell a stranger something that you won't tell your mother or the neighbor, because it's kind of, okay, that stranger will disappear again into the night. Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, and I definitely recognize that. Yeah, there is some strange things I've noticed also when I'm at conferences and I ask people to share some things. For some people, it's like, no, I cannot do it because I need to have the trust. And for others, it's like the exact opposite. Like, no, this is the moment I can share everything. I don't have to worry because I will never see that person again. That really creates another kind of safety. That's indeed.
But also for me as a coach, or having the coaching stance, when asking these questions, there's also information. Well, there's information in no information, or information in specific types of information. Of course, I'm interpreting a lot, and I'm aware of that. But there is, well, if people are, the 5 questions is answered within 5 minutes with single sentences, and there is nothing else to get out of it. Well, that's information as well. And the interesting thing is also people are, or kind of sharing and good and bad stories about what's happening on the team, not necessarily mentioning people. But again, it's the system revealing itself to a stranger that's then revealing it to the system, and at that point, it's kind of becoming clear what it is that what we should be doing. And if
wait, can I ask a question? Because you ask questions and you feed it back to the team. I assume, but I want to double check that they know that you will feed it back to the team in an anonymous way, right?
That is part of the contract. When I'm saying I'm inviting you to this, and after talking with everyone, I will be giving you a summarized version of what everyone has been saying, so we know where it is that we are.
And is there ever a manager or another person that wants to know who said this? Does that happen?
Yeah, well, in the early years, definitely that was. I could probably think of two, but thing is that well, it's not really for me to share who said that, and well, you probably know it yourself, so there's no need for me to verify that for you. Thing is, people are sharing what it is that they want, so it's not like I hate that guy. Well, sometimes that pops up.
Sometimes happens indeed.
But the thing is that it's kind of safe, but it's people are still after 30 minutes revealing a lot of interesting stuff, and there is also, well, with the structure, those that want to think about it before have had that opportunity. Some people are popping up and have not thought about it because doesn't matter, I can talk right out of it. So it's like it's for me, that is a fantastic way of creating insights for the system, and also having an idea of what the minimal structure is that we could start out working towards. Again, tying that back to, now I need to point in the right direction to the fast element, is for me that is a minimal structure of getting, well, up to 150 people to work together without excessive overhead and administration.
Right. But yeah, you keep. I really like how you say you talk to these people, and okay, you keep that in some kind of safe way, and at the same time, they I assume, like you say, if they use it as a complaint gate, you will not feed that back again, because there is some safety at the other side as well for the receivers. So that's a lot there. It part of that question was also, why is that challenge a good thing for you? What could you explain some more?
Well, one of the things is the part about not being prescriptive or not knowing everything is actually the emergence of it. Because when I'm mindful, being in the moment, not knowing everything makes me curious, gives me this beginner's mindset where, okay, what's happening here? What is it that is? So trying not to interpret well, I've seen one team, this team must be the same, and that team must be the same, and that team must be the same, or this organization, and it's definitely not. So being curious, not coming up with, well, you should be working like this, is giving so much better solutions over the year. And from being the one with a stick poking around in the ant's nest, or it's actually kind of, oh, this is interesting, and getting close and smelling and whatever it is that you could come up with an ant's nest. So it's being curious. And when I'm not that, when I'm kind of, oh, I know the answer, because that is what we've been trained back in first grades and school, and more or less all society, is that if a question occurs and someone knows the answer, you will get a gratification, or you will be giving a gift if you can answer that question. Kind of like, if you can solve this challenge, you will be getting a prize.
Yeah, and I think that's and the receiving end typically also wants it, or at least many of them like, solve my problem. But we're the real thing is making sure that we teach people how that they can solve their own problems, and not steal that learning opportunity. So
It's
there is
it's back to the old saying of the hungry man, give him a fish and he's satisfied for a day, and learn him how to fish and he's satisfied for life. So
It depends, of course, if he's dying from hunger, then you first need to
yeah,
feed him a
man,
little bit, and
there,
this is
there
again
are
where
different
your starting
stages.
point. Exactly, but that's a little bit you need to, well, at least show them, hey, I like fish. Okay, maybe I now want to learn it and some of that. So, but that's really that value. Yeah.
And that's again back to if you come to an accident in the traffic, well, noticing, and that's probably also I'm just coming to think of that, noticing what is happening. Who are the people that are shouting out very loud, and who is it that's laying very still, and so noticing what is actually happening, and from that then make a triage that these can wait, these are already dead, and these are actually the ones that should be having the first aid support right now.
Right. That's definitely
And that's also back in the days I came in, and day one we were people that which teams I was on would probably say, yeah, that was not a very interesting thing you did there, Per. But coming in and saying, okay, this is how we should be working right now because we're working agile. Totally different approach than from 25 years ago, where it was more like a different way of approaching teams.
And actually, I think for everybody who's still here watching, I think it's very clear that you're a very driven person in all kind of directions, and you have a lot of passion. And for the people that know you at XpDay Benelux or other conference, they know that as well. So the question there is, what drives you? Know where that passion, where that drive is coming from?
What did I? Well, I was actually looking at my these Clifton strengths, these Gallup Strength Finder is the way that you can do it. I'm talking about talents, which is what the Danish company called the Talents Unlimited is calling them, and they've added 4 more. That is kind of, if you take a test there, it's how fast you are, and so they can read something out of that. And my top talents, and that's definitely what are driving me, is that I'm optimistic, I'm initiating, I'm innovative, I'm flexible, inquiring, developing everyone around me. I'm visionary, inclusive, improving, connecting, and value driven. And the thing here is that mix is when you look at some of the talents, and those are typically focused on past, present, and future. And most of my talents are either or all beside one, or focused on present or future. So being in so one of the things, and that's probably also back to one of my biggest challenges, is when people are coming and, oh yeah, yesterday, and this was not, and and last month, and 3 years ago, and I'm staying with it because there's information in it. But what I'm always trying to do is, okay, what can we do right now to improve the future? And that is definitely what is driving me. So a future way of doing stuff, making the world a better place. And sometimes I'm asking myself, do you really need to go out and save the world again today, Per? And sometimes I'm saying, well, perhaps not today, but tomorrow I definitely will. So yeah. and a lot of that
that's also about understanding your limitations.
yeah. And also
think-
my energy. So making sure that I have enough energy on to actually do something with myself and the people around me. But that's probably the biggest driver is the improvements that's possible within this setting where we are right now.
Right.
And again, with optimism, getting people on board, and typically spicing it up with humor.
Definitely, I can definitely see that. But I think again, you go in all kind of directions, which show that passion, which shows a lot of these things that is with you in, and I so recognize the answers that you give here. Then I want to move to that next question: that what do you consider your biggest achievement? And as you probably noticed when you watched other videos, like for me, this is what I've learned over the 3 years that I'm doing this, is that this is your opportunity to shine and to brag and to be really proud. Is that easy for you as a person to brag about yourself?
I'm from the part of Denmark where we have this law, and I can't recall what it's translated into English is called, but it's about don't overshine anyone, and we will knock you down if you try to.
Wow.
So definitely that's not built into me. But moving to the city of Copenhagen 35 years ago, I was kind of well, if you wanted to have something to do, if you wanted work, you had to tell that you were at least capable of anything. So I started out kind of telling 80% of what I actually was good at, and then I probably turned that up because to get something to do to what I actually was capable of and good at, and then squeezing it up to perhaps 120%. So I could also talk about as if I could do it. These are actually the things that I'm good at, and then throughout the first month, learn all of the stuff that I was telling that I could be doing. And over the years, my backpack is so full of tools and stuff that bragging is not possible or not needed anymore. But what is my biggest achievement?
Right.
And that is it's actually a difficult question, because I so in regards to what I've produced, and I took it with me here. So that old poster is also kind of a video on YouTube called Scrum by the Book. And before I recorded that video, the wording Scrum by the Book was not to find anywhere. And in the year after, everyone was talking about Scrum by the Book and so on and so forth. So I think at least I made a tiny impression there. Another thing that I'm kind of proud of.
I completely forgot about that, because that's what, 9-10 years old. That
yeah,
video?
Something like that. It's back to the Scrum Guide 13. It was describing.
So I'll definitely link the link to the video in the show notes as well.
Nice, thanks for that. Another thing that I'm kind of proud of, and that's these cards that I at one point created related to graphic facilitation. I was at this, and it's been printed, I think, in 500 copies. I've never sold one, so I've handed them out everywhere. So that's and there's also on the back, there's all these small library of icons that's easy to draw. I can't draw, so these are the ninja tips and tricks that I picked up over the years. But I was at this training with Sharon Bowman in London called Training from the Back of the Room. There's a book on it.
Right, Training from the Back of the Room.
Yes, and the thing is there, on day 3, if you want to become certified, you need to teach people something within 10 minutes. and I went in panic, and I thought, oh, what should I teach people? Uh, I'm not really good at anything. That's where my imposter syndrome pops in. And then I thought, oh, I could probably teach some of the tricks that I picked up over the year of graphic facilitation. So within 10 minutes, I used 2 minutes for assessing people and explaining them learning stations, so moving around and learning stuff. 8 minutes to move around and learn these 16 tips and tricks that I put on small cards, and then 2 minutes to reassess. And
That's
I got
12 minutes in total. That's not 10.
two,
2,
six,
6, and 2.
yeah.
Well, I was
Thank you,
wondering,
thank you for that.
did my
The
math
calculation
skills
is
fail
off.
me?
Yeah, nice.
It could have been different counting system in Denmark than in the
No,
Belgium,
no,
of
no.
course.
It's the VAT that was added there. That's what.
Right.
Oh yeah,
That's you get extra content.
yeah. So the thing is that I created those 16 cards, and I got a very high score, so 3 out of 3 from also Sharon Bowman, and beside one inside the room, everyone who was giving me 3 out of 3. So that was fantastic. And then I thought I could post a session at the XP days where I could do 50 tips and tricks on graphic facilitation. So
And
so
damn
I,
it, it was selected, and then you had to come up with
yeah,
them.
then I had to create all of the cards and also got them printed and stuff like that. So, but again, that is also one of the things that with this starting in initiating future-looking things, I probably have 50 ideas currently in the making, and I'm probably best when I know that this is the deadline and this is exactly when I need to deliver this product. Then I'm capable of doing everything. And I did it on an iPad that I bought, and so that was also a challenging way of or self-challenging in a way.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of in regards to what I've produced, but in regards to what I'm most happy about is probably all the starfish around me. And to know what I'm talking about there, I probably need to use a minute to tell the starfish story, which is
Right.
not something that I've come up with. It's on the internet, but this is perhaps a condensed version.
Okay.
And the starfish story is about this old man, and 10 years from now, I'm probably at that age, but he's walking at something, I think it's kind of scenery like Malibu Beach or something where a lot of coves and really nice, and it's in the morning and the sun is coming up, and you can kind of sense that, oh, this is going to be a very hot day. And the evening before, there was a kind of small storm, but everything looks nice. Then he looks out into on the next beach that he's walking towards, and he can see that there's some kind of a person doing a dance or something like that. And when he gets closer, he can see it's a young man bending down and doing something and bending down, and so it's kind of like a circular movement. And when he comes to that beach, he sees there's 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 perhaps of starfish that was kind of washed up throughout the storm. And when he comes over to the young man, and he continues, the young man. So he asks him, what is it that you're doing? And he continues, well, I'm saving starfish. And the old man says, stop. If you look at it, it doesn't matter with the sun, and they'll die all in an hour or two. And the young man then said, it mattered to this one, mattered to that one, mattered to this one. And this is kind of the story about saving starfish. And it's kind of the mentality that every time that I'm with people in a team, in an organization, it's all about the starfish. And that's probably when I'm thinking about what is it that I'm most proud of, or what are my biggest
Wait,
achievements.
just to make sure that
Yeah.
I feel that you skipped it. That this one and that one, he's actually throwing the starfish
Yeah,
in the
throwing
sea,
the
right?
starfish into the sea one at a
Right.
time. It saved this one. It saved this one. It mattered for this one. It mattered for that
Exactly.
one.
I
Yeah.
know the story, but it didn't register with me that you were saying
Oh
that
no,
the
I'm
throwing.
telling it too fast. That's the story of my life sometimes. But
Hmm.
the thing is that with the achievement, it's well within every team and within in every organization. I'm not saving organizations. I'm changing them a tiny bit, but there's definitely starfish. There's definitely stars in there that are picking up some of the things that's popping out of my mind or at conferences. So coming back and taking a tiny bit, going back, going home, using that for something in their life. And every time that people come back to me, could be years later, and they're saying, "Oh, this is fantastic, Pierre." What? And I'm asking them, "Well, who told you that, or who taught you that?" "Well, you did, Pierre." "Oh, nice." So so yeah, I can't remember. I have the memory of a goldfish, which of course I've heard has a quite a longer memory that claim to have. But the thing is that it's the single people that have been changed due to the interactions with me or the questions or the challenges that we've done together. So
And
those are my
I
achievements.
really like that because you, like you say, you might be helping out one person there, one person there. But if you talk about your example at conferences like XpDay Benelux, then you're touching a group of people who are again touched by are touching other people, and that's the thing where that's for me. You might focus on one part, and other people might focus on a completely different part. And I think that's how we save the world. It's not by everybody focusing on the big round gesture, everybody focusing on what they care about, and that's it, and that will help a lot of starfish or a lot of other people. I think that's really is an important message to share.
And the thing
um,
is, it's I'm well. When I was a young consultant, young coach, young scrum master, I was always thinking everyone needs to be saved. Come on, but the thing is that's not up for me to decide. And the thing is that it's well, if there's a single starfish that kind of is saved, that is floating in better water, or well, that's totally enough. And perhaps there are two or three, and perhaps there's someone else, and then they'll go out, kind of like from Turn the Ship Around with David Marquette, as he's saying, well, having made this impression on that crew, well, a lot of those were advancing and moving out into different ships, and that's also what I'm seeing. Sometimes I'm seeing some of my drawings in places where I definitely haven't been, and sometimes I'm hearing people are saying, yeah, this is kind of like, oh, fantastic. Who told you that? And well, because it's kind of something I probably would have said 5 or 6 years back, but someone picked it up and told the story because that resonated with them, and then they told the story. So it's kind of like the one of the on the other hands, though, that I'm also seeing is yeah, it's not attributed to me, and that's perfectly fine, as long as
mm,
people, because I'm standing on the shoulders of other giants back 10, 15, 25 years. But what I'm also seeing right now is kind of like back in the days when the internet started, and one of the things there was kind of like every month, the population of people on the internet was doubling.
mm,
So one of the things back then that we always should remind ourselves is that, well, this month there's a whole new group of people that are newbies. So if we are well, if we think that we want to have a more advanced navigation bar or somewhere something else that advanced that's building on what they were learning last month, well, don't do it, because there's so many new people. And that's kind of one of the things that I've also seen over the past couple of years, is so many people are new, being turned into or being working agile, and some of the stuff has actually been forgotten to tell them in regards to what is the mindset behind the things that we're doing. Why is it that this is perhaps smart or a better way of doing stuff? Why is it that we need to collaborate when we can, well, coordinate stuff and then things will happen? Well, because it won't. And this is one of the places where I think that a lot of us old people have kind of failed out in regards to making sure that the stories of why it is that we're doing some of this stuff, what is the ideology, or what is the gifts that the world will get if we're doing this in the right way. And
Well,
again, why people these days are saying agile is dead.
well, and yeah, you save some starfish, and they might and again inspire some others, and that might save some more, some of the double or the triple of the number of people. Because I heard a similar kind of story about the number of people going into IT. It doubles also every X time. I keep forgetting the exact time, but yeah, of course. We I just talked today with a person that talked about, okay, agile is not really helping, and then when I hear the stories, like, yeah, I'm not really sure you're talking about agile. You're talking about a subpart and then a certain implementation somewhere. That doesn't mean that it's, yeah, that you fully understand agile. And at the same time, this person realized, like, okay, I've only have a couple of years experience, so probably I need to learn more. So yeah, that is a lot.
We've
So
forgotten the
yeah.
origin story of where we came from, because, well, people were tired of hearing us say it, telling it. And what we should be doing is probably start telling it again, but not in the same way that we did 20 or 25 years ago. It's a different audience. Generations have shifted, and attention span is different, and but at least some of the elements of why is it that this is actually interesting for everyone.
Mhm. That's indeed very important. Let's move to that next question. What is, do you have a personal agility tip to share?
Oh, I have hundreds, but let's try to focus on a few of them.
That's a tip
Um,
on its own.
what?
That's a tip on its own. Try to focus.
Yes. Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Raif. Well, my first tip is actually back in the days, I was invited
Mm.
by you to participate in this fantastic book, and I missed out both the imposter syndrome and reading about all of the fantastic people that well. And if the audience haven't read this yet, this is a gem of still valid, very valid ninja tips and tricks. But I kind of went into a freeze, and at the point when I actually knew what I would have told in the book, it was well, that window was closed. Um, but my definitely ninja trick that I would have told about that back then is focus on your energy. Make sure that you have enough, and do some elements of both replenishing it, but also notice where you are in is it high, is it low. So when you're doing some things that you hate but you need to do that will drain your energy, make sure that you do it at one point of the day where it's actually where it's possible to have the energy, so you're not going into to a red zone. And to share also, well,
That would have, well, before you jump into fully, and that would have been a perfect tip to be in the book. So there was no need for your so your imperfection syndrome and whatever. Um, it's but I really like, so that's why I want to go talk a little bit, because what the people that might not know. So I've invited. So the book has 89 tips from people all around the world. And actually, for that, I don't know the number by heart, but I at least invited 160 people. Some people said right away, like, nope, not for me. Others said, like, I'm in a different space, not no time. And then there's a lot of, this is not the first time I heard this story, people thinking, no, I don't belong in it. Actually had people sending me something like, okay, this is a draft. Could I put it in? I was like, wow, this is maybe the best thing that's in there. So that, yeah, so many people withhold so many things, and it's really a shame. Yeah, I'm really proud of the book, not so much because I created it, because it's inspired so many people to dare to put out something. And yes, there are famous people, famous agilists in the book, because that's what helps selling and whatever, and also because they have really great ideas. But I'm not even convinced that the best ideas come from the that are in the book are from the most famous people.
No.
Sometimes we all know all these ideas, and we might not even consider it any more important. And then something like what you now came up, I don't think there is anything like that in the book,
No.
and that would have had a perfect place in that.
Exactly. But when I went or ended up being ready for that, well, the window was closed, which is perfectly fine, because what I ended up with was actually posing a question. So that was during Corona.
Mm-hmm.
So during Corona, I ended up posing a session for the XpDay Benelux again,
Mm-hmm.
and made a workshop there, and was invited back to do a workshop when it became physical, physically
Mm-hmm.
possible again. And I've created a half-day workshop on energy management. And I have a 40 pages pamphlet that sometimes when I'm at coach camps, I'm actually doing that exercise, or a couple of those exercises, and
So instead of being one article in a book, you created your own book, basically.
totally, or created a something that has been shared again and again and again, and people are going out, and the reason that I thought this was important was actually the element that I saw people around me uh, kind of getting burnout, and everyone was talking. And the thing is that looking around the world with the changes that's currently happening, and the non-predictability that is there, and the fear, and I think it's even more important. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
could be that I
That's
should just put it out in
yeah, I
public.
think both the story as how you got to it, as the tip itself, is really really important. And I'm glad that in another episode of something that I'm doing with the community, you are able to end up sharing it. I do hope it inspires people, so both to sign up, because that's the same thing here. I have to, some people I have to remind, and like, and sometimes people don't answer because they think, yeah, it's probably a mistake that I was invited. And no, if you got an invitation mail, it means somebody thinks, either me or someone else thinks you belong here. And I think that's, yeah, it's there's the other reaction. I sometimes have the opposite, like, yeah, I was waiting for my invitation, and of course I'm there, why didn't you invite me before? Always male, always white male, let's put it like that.
Yeah.
But there is, yeah, there is a lot of other reactions from people like you that I have to keep telling, no, this is really good. um, for the book, I decided at some point, like, okay, I will end up at 89, because a lot of my projects end at 89. I couldn't do this. I didn't want to do it for the video, because I don't know, it will be 165 or 67 or something like that when this one will be published. So I'm already almost at double of the 89. But that's because this gives me so much energy, and I can keep doing it, which is kind of harder for physical book, of course, because then it keeps expanding. Um, but yeah,
You
it
could
is
end up
so
with
important.
with 889.
Yeah, actually this series came out of a book series that actually was again 89. So I keep
Ah,
using 89. Do you have any idea? Well, that's a sub question. Do you have any idea why it was 89?
no, please
It's
share.
an There is an agile ID behind it. It's an agile joke basically.
Okay. No,
It's a
tell me.
Fibonacci number.
Ah,
So that's just I was looking
ah,
for what
my.
is a good thing to end up with, and was like, yeah, what is 100? This feels like, and I was like, yeah, at some points, at some time, I looked at what is a Fibonacci number that I could use, and that's just why I keep using it. Most
I
people
could,
have no idea, but it's just a joke for myself.
I could give you a joke. It's a British children's joke, so I'll come. So why is six afraid of seven?
Why is six afraid of seven? I have no idea.
Because seven, eight, nine.
Right.
Well, that's
It's
at least 89 there at the end of the joke. So
exactly. So that's another kind of thing. Um, and that's how
okay.
people notice that
Sorry.
we like to throw up jokes again.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That well,
Sorry.
jokes that
It's
typically my daughter would not appreciate, because I'm pretty sure if she would listen in that she would roll her eyes. But that's probably our age speaking. Uh,
and it was actually not nice in regards to people that identify as numbers. So sorry for.
that's the other thing. Let's move to the next question.
Yeah.
What
Oh, I
have you
have
learned
more
about
tips.
remote work?
I have more tips. Should I just ramble them off quickly?
Maybe one more. Maybe one more.
Yes. Start doing. Solutions will reveal themselves. Be present. Notice what is emerging. Be generous with your time for those that ask. Pay it forward and teach
Hmm.
to learn. When you're teaching, you remove fear, and then it's so easy to repeat to master.
Wow, that was more than just one, but that's just a nice list. You definitely have to send me so that I can add them to the show notes.
I'll do that.
Um,
I'll do that.
and that's again what I've noticed, that when I ask you something, always get a lot more than I was asking for. That's something that people might recognize of you, and that's actually one of the reasons why you shouldn't hold back yourself, because there is always value in what we get from a conversation with you.
Thank you.
So let's move to indeed that next question. What have you learned about remote working? Is
Yes.
there something that you've learned? Because I know
Yes.
that, well, in person we've seen you so much into all these workshops, but remote working. Well, maybe let's start with, when did you do your first remote working?
I
When did that start?
probably started working remotely back in, what was that, 2005, 6, something like that. And back then it was WebEx. I think was kind of the only thing that was possible. And scrolling a tiny bit further or fast forward, remote. So working remote with teams was probably, well, on a daily or a weekly basis, was probably back in 16, 17 or something like that. So it was before Corona and before COVID. Uh, Back then, there was not really any good tools. We had the WebEx. I definitely remembered. Um, and one of the elements back then was, well, how can I get people to interact? And that is one of my tips or tricks, is remember that when you're in an online setting, it's facilitation still. So when you're with people, we need to facilitate some of the stuff that we're doing, not just pop
Mm.
in and okay, let's see what's happening. That's kind of the same as going into a meeting room and hoping for people to create or solve stuff. So minimal structures is again there's the wording, is definitely needed. Um, One of my probably earliest tips or tricks is actually to invite I call it invite puppet masters. So
Mm-hmm.
if we're having mixed, so there's two people from back home, so not everyone is online. Some are on site and some are online. So if it's a limited amount that is online, then have those that are online reach out to the other people on the team and have them become their puppet masters. So
Wow.
so you're actually carrying the body back from back home, and you can then point and share what it is that's happening inside the room. You have someone to have a chat with when we're doing group stuff.
Mm-hmm.
um, and so when that happens, it all of a sudden becomes the same experience as when we're on site, everyone, because it's
And but that does force you to have more or less the same amount of people online as offline,
yeah,
or the,
as well. The thing, sometimes you could have two, but the thing is that if there's, well, three inside the room and six sitting back home, I would say let's have it everyone online. So it's more a tip when a couple or three is back home from the team. That works fantastically because we are still keeping the one-to-one connection, and there's actually one that can go and show that person what's happening. So it's an individual experience, as if we were in inside a room.
Mhm. That's
Another
I
that's
really like that, because it shows so much how important that is. That well, the one-on-one is an important part. The fact that there is somebody caring for the person
yes.
remotely, that really they feel part of the game. It's not like, oh, an afterthought of, oh yeah, oh, by the way, we
Oh, what
shouldn't
just
forget
happened?
the remote. Yeah.
What just
Yeah.
happened? Just that question is well,
Mm,
you couldn't hear it, but he was saying, and someone, there's of
mm,
course some small chatter inside the room, but everyone is aware this is for him and this is for her, and so it's kind of like when we're sitting in a meeting room and there's small chit chatter. That's not to interrupt what's happening. It's actually just to get a better understanding of what is going on inside the room.
mm. I really
So
like that. Yeah, it's so crucial for having, to level the playing field between online and
yeah.
physical. That's a really important one.
So that at least is one. Another trick could be co-create. And in these
Mm,
days with Miro, we're kind of aware of that's working, and some people hate it. But the thing is that this is all about involvement and engagement. So when we're involved in something, we're typically more engaged, and when we're then engaged, we will involve ourselves. So figuring out a way of doing that, and it could be with a chat storm or Miro mural. Microsoft whiteboard is still not working very well, but at least it's a possibility. Back in the
mhm.
days, I think it was, can't remember if it was paint or something like that. That was a possibility. So everyone was working with paint and then taking a picture, and then we added those. So sometimes it's just thinking what is possible, and we have so many better technologies today, but still think back that, okay, what is it that I as a facilitator want to create. And we were earlier talking about the constraints. So if the constraint is we need to use what I know, my Google Docs for co-creating this, well, then that's the constraint for this retrospective. And
Mm.
be amazed, or it's amazing how creative people with limited technology is actually capable of doing stuff.
I really like that, because it's yeah, I do remember back in, trying to think, I think 2005, working with a team. We had Skype, so that was the kind of online way to talk to each other, which a time zone difference of 4 hours. And I remember with a team, we went. I don't know. We went at a restaurant discussing something. So we took a napkin and we drew something, and it was really like a cool conversation. And then we said, okay, but now our remote team needs it. And I do remember this was before digital cameras became a big thing. I had already a digital camera at home, but I didn't have it with me. So we scanned it into a scanner and then sent that file back to the other side. And indeed, with Paint, they made a few adjustments to ask for questions, and that picture with the adjustments in Paint that went back and forth multiple times, and that was and I even remember printing it off and using it every time we had a discussion. It was on our wall, and when people didn't understand a little bit, they took it off, and then yeah, that was what we had, and that it was not perfect, but it worked as a way to communicate with, because online drawings, that was basically not possible at that moment.
And that is what you're mentioning there is actually another tip. So have an artifact that people can look at when we're doing something. So one thing is co-creating. Another thing is look at something. So if we are doing something together, and then the result is some kind of an artifact, some kind of a resulting thing. Thing is that next time we will meet up, taking start off in that one. So I'm also having one. We'll have people say something within the first 2 or 5 minutes. So a very fast way, and that's also back to the first C and the 4 C's from training from the back of the room, connecting. So within the first 2 or 5 minutes, get people into small groups, show them the result from last time, and have a discussion on what happened last time. If not everyone was inside the room last time, this is a golden opportunity. And you're remembering or you're forgetting all about what just happened 5 minutes before you entered the room. So that is a very quick way of starting up the meeting again, getting our memory back to where we left it, and then continuing from that.
Mm-hmm. I really like that. That's indeed so crucial for bringing back experiences. And instead of doing it in a big group, do it in small groups, reconnect with people, have people. Yeah, it reminds me of some of the liberating structures. So indeed, a lot of that. And so let's move to, because we're already talking a long time, let's move to a book that you have read that you want to talk about. And we already mentioned a couple of books, but I do know that there was one at least that you wanted to talk about. And actually, I think you after you send me that book, you said later on, I have even maybe more, but I think we already talked about some more. I think, just like me, there's a lot of books. So what's the book?
The book is the software teaming from that I really exactly the software teaming from Woody Sull and Kevin Meadows, and this is a recent read for me. I didn't read it years back, and for me this is actually
that means that you read the how would I call it, the second edition, right?
Yeah, the second edition. And for me, this is when you're struggling with anything related to team collaboration. This is the go-to book, and what Woody and Kevin has put in there, all the part about it. It's a book about. It's not a book about mob programming. Of course, it is. It's a book about software teaming. The thing is, it's actually a love story to how is it that you're creating teams that is collaborating, and let me take a look. This is where I wanted to go. So I'm currently also working with Woody in regards to something we call the whole team collaboration, and we're currently at a concept called the 7 Cs, sailing the 7 Cs. So yeah, I'm not sure where that ends, but the thing is, it's something about when we're working together, what are the possibilities, and it could be something like competition or cognizance or broadcasting communication, Are we just coordinating? So organizing the activities, which is sometimes what we see with a lot of the project management stuff. Are we cooperating, so aligning work to create something, or are we actually collaborating, co-creating something new together? And this is, for me,
Oops.
Yes, yeah. I'm back in the right side.
Yeah, sorry, that was mine. I wanted to switch the people that didn't work out. Sorry, I interrupted you with that.
And the thing is that these 7 C's are different ways of really working tightly together and co-creating, or just either doing solo work or doing individually I know best work and I hate everyone else. Thing is that we've been doing a couple of online sessions where, well, we don't know anything, Woody and I, or at least we pretend not to. So asking the community, what is it that well, when we're talking about a whole team collaboration, what are your definitions? What are the elements that should go in there? And having those discussions is fantastic. One of the questions that's popped up most is actually how to get there, how to go to whole team collaboration. And with whole team, it's both, well, 6-7 people to a whole organization. And in that book, there are so many fantastic tiny tips and tricks that at least still blowed my mind after working with people for 23 years, and it's so tangible. So that's one of the reasons that I so much recommend that book.
I really like that, and indeed, yeah, Woody, it's wonderful person. Yeah. He was also again on this December Sparks, and yeah, it's a wonderful person to have here and to talk with. I know I.
And a recommendation would definitely go back and see your chat with him here on the Who is Agile. I love that episode.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the number because I don't know it by heart. Because but it definitely was a really
111
cool conversation. Actually 147. I just found it.
Okay.
So yeah, that's well,
one of the reasons.
Yeah. But it's a wonderful person, and if it's talking about whatever he was in his involvement in No Estimates, if he's talking about indeed the teaming or the mobbing or the multiple names that it had at some point, really wonderful person.
Yeah, and one of the things that if you notice, what Woody is every time is talking about, and well, it's back to how are people working together, not just working together, but actually real true collaboration. Not well, cooperation is typically what I've seen with a lot of Scrum teams is we get together, agree what we want to do, and then we go out and do it individually. And when we're coming back, then we hope that it fits. Perhaps not really, and okay, then let's go out and fix that. So the thing about and that's also one of the things that I really picked up from Woody is the thing that collaborating. It's a skill that needs to be learned. It's not something that we can just do kind of like throwing a ball at each other. We also need to learn how to catch a ball. And if we want to become professional at catching balls, well, it takes decades. Kind of like what collaboration is about. It takes some strengthening of muscles to become good at it. It doesn't just happen overnight because we slipped.
Exactly. It's something we need to work on and we need to improve. Like you say, with that list behind you, it's from communication to really collaboration. It's a lot of work and it's not a coincidence when we get there, or we might get there by coincidence, but actually actively working gives you a bigger chance to get there, I would say.
Another book?
Well, one more.
Well, this is the biggest book that I have. This might work. And well, it's not something that's possible to grab hold of anymore. But what is possible to grab hold of is still this one: what to do when it's your turn, and it always is, from Seth Godin.
Mm-hmm.
And what I just wanted to actually point out from, it's one of these books with a lot of pictures and
Mm-hmm.
so few. Well, it's an easy read. It's something that takes time, because every one of these pages is a reflection that will tickle your mind.
Mm.
And if you want to have a podcast, Seth Godin just came out with something called "This Is Strategy," which is, I've already heard it the 2 times. But what I wanted to show was this picture, and this is the conference at Solvay. And
Mm.
inside this picture is Madame Curie, and there is Einstein
Einstein
kind of
thing?
in the
I
middle,
remember
and
the.
I think, how many was it? Uh, 29 physicists, and 17 of these people won the Nobel Prize. 29,
17. Ah,
17 out of the 29. So that was the conference in Solvay in, I can't recall what year, um, because they had it a couple of times. So that was in 2027. My thought in regards to that, and that is why I took it out, is when we are talking about collaboration and when we are talking about working together with people, the element there is actually, well, you could ask your question in regards, did these people be invited to that conference because they were as smart as they were, or and by that winning the Nobel Prize, or did they win the Nobel Prize because they were at that conference talking with all of the others?
mm. And
And this
yeah,
is one of
it's.
the things that to me, it's thinking, and that's back to one of my well, what is the challenge that I'm having? Well, it's not involving people enough, thinking I know everything. So what we can do, and that's up to every one of us, is actually to go in there and start interacting more with people, asking them what is it that you're thinking in regards to
Mm.
that. Have that open mindset. And well, if we are becoming good at that whole team, true collaboration, then magic will happen in the
Mhm.
team, in the company, in the world,
Yeah, I
in the
think
family.
it's for me, it's one of the things that I think many people underestimate when they think about Einstein. And of course, Einstein was a very smart dude, and there's a lot of I haven't met him, but of course he's really smart. But there was actually, I've read one or two bios from him where it's really like, okay, but he did collaborate. He talked with a lot of people. There is some people that say that maybe it was more some of the invention, more his partner than himself. That's another discussion. But it's definitely not pure his work. It's collaborating with other people that inspired him and that triggered even more things. And so yeah, and of course he's a big part of that, but it's not the only thing. It's the collaboration, it's learning from other people, and yeah, that I think, and that's so true for I think every kind of inventor in all kind of directions. And if it's scientific, agile, well, I think, yeah, the fact that these 17, because it's by coincidence also 17 people at some point who were all competitors decided, let's go a weekend skiing together and we'll see what we'll end up with, and then ended up with agreeing with a lot of discussions with a lot of other things, but in the end agreeing on a page, agreeing to never update it and say like, okay, this is what we stand for, inspired so many people and so many different kind of things. So yeah, really wonderful thing. So let's move to
Yes.
for me, always one of the most interesting questions, and I keep saying it every time after a conversation like this, but this is really one of the reasons why because I really wanted to have this conversation, because I'm so looking forward to your answer. What's a question that you think I should also ask you? Because yeah, we've been talking already so much about so many different things about all the years. What's something that I should also ask you?
Oh, well, one of the things that well, as I mentioned, I'm definitely gazing a lot into the future. So a good question could be, what's next?
So what is next for you, Per? Or what's next
Yeah,
in general?
well, definitely more collaborative ways of working. The whole industry, as I'm seeing it, is definitely, we will be looking at different ways of working. I still think that we will be working agile, at least in the traditional agile, or in the mindset, or the incentive that was back then. Really love Josh Kirevsky's book, and the title just disappeared.
The joy
But
of agile.
Joy of Agile. Thank you so much, Eve. And reading that book definitely takes me back to, yes, Agile is so much alive. It's implemented totally crappy out there, as Diana Larsen has said. Well, Agile isn't dead. Agile has won. And I'm seeing some of the same things as we were talking about. Probably 20 years ago, and 15 years ago, and 10 years ago, and I'm kind of seeing it as walking on a mountain. So we're standing here looking out, and then we're walking around the mountain, seeing different things. And now we're back, seeing kind of the same thing as we saw 5 years ago, but it's with it's a different perspective. It's something else, and again and again. And the thing is that what I'm looking at, perhaps we're at the peak right now. So going on to the next mountain, or what is happening next, and definitely different ways of working. People really want to collaborate more, not being told what to do. Different focus on product, and Per.
I really like that what you said there, and it reminds me, and I can't come up with where did I hear it, but someone recently told me, like, yeah, we're talking about, oh, we're back to waterfall, and that's actually what people who were saying never were into waterfall, because waterfall was like projects of 3 to 5 years or whatever. I don't see that anymore. Like, yeah, we have sometimes strange sprints, and we might have sprints of a month, and there might be different stages that feel very waterfallish, but it's like within weeks, or it's maximum a couple of months, but it's not years. So okay, there might be stages at some kind of level, but it's definitely not, it's not 3 5 years. It's a different kind of level, and so yeah, there's, like you say, but that's, I think, with so many things, it's a pendulum going back and forth and multiple things, and it's like, yeah, and we have that in technology as well, like in a certain way, and of course I'm not enough technical anymore, but in a certain way, microservices are a lot similar to what we had in mainframe, and in certain kind of ways there is differences, but there is also kind of ways that are similar, and that people who know a lot about both mainframe and microservices say, hey, we can learn from that past about some of these things, and we should do the same thing, and see what is there to learn from some other kind of parts. So definitely there. So thank you for bringing that up again. Like, okay, what is next? And what I'm hearing is, for you, of course, you're in so many ways a collaborative, in so many ways collaborating with people
And just
at conferences, but also around the world. So
And just
yeah.
one more thing, taking it back from 20 years ago, because there's a lot of things that was hard back then, implementing agile and being allowed even doing it. So a lot of the stuff that happened back then was bottom up. So we created a tiny bubble of autonomy. And the thing is that well, when I'm talking with people, what is possible, Pierre? What can we do? And we want to be allowed doing this. I'm just pointing again to the fast part. So go into fastagile.io, read the guide. It's 6 pages long. And the thing there is we can do all of the stuff that we're complaining about today if we 2, 3, 6 people on a team decide, well, we want to do it in a different way. So I've recently just done fast 2 days value cycles under a Scrum cadence of 2 weeks, under a 3-month PI period, running safe. And the thing is, people are saying, how did you do that? It's easy. Read the guide. It's so easy, and we can do it. So that's my thing to well, the people that want to talk with me is actually go out and be creative with the constraints that you're having right now.
I really like that. I really like that. It's again, it's understanding where we are, understanding the tools and the methods or the availabilities, and indeed, it's very tempting to complain and to do all kinds of, but there's options, and like you say, there's more options these days than 20 years ago. There's more tools. There's more, but of course, it makes you forced to take action. It makes you forced to take your responsibility and not just blame a manager or a company or a process that it's in place, and looking at what are things. So
Because
thank you.
they don't know either what to do.
Exactly. And it brings us back again to what you said, collaborate and work together with the people and see what are the options. And talking about collaboration, basically that's really for me a nice way to go to that next one.
Yes.
Who do you think I should ask next? And because you gave me a lot, well, you gave me, first of all, you gave me an insane list of people, and then we moved. So basically, indeed, that December Sparks list with everybody that did something, and which then we would need 2 hours to talk about all these people,
Exactly.
which is a little bit too much.
Picking one.
Well, I'm going to propose you send me a second list with just a number of people. I'm propose that I will going to show some pictures. Hope I found the right pictures of the people, but then and you just tell me who they are and why do you want them. So the first person is this person. Who is this and why?
Kitty Hiding. She's my in regards to these December Sparks is my companion in crime. So we invited people from our network, give us 30 minutes. Kitty is fantastic, knows a lot about culture. So that would be fantastic to hear her.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's a wonderful person. It's always, again, inspiring, always very nice to hear. And so I'm really looking forward. She was on my list, and waiting for someone to invite. So I'm really happy with that. Actually, the lot of the other people were not in my or not all of them were on my list. Some of them I know, but didn't end up on my list because it's only 700 people, and there's actually a lot more agilists, of course. But some of them I totally didn't know. So let's bring up the next person. Who's this, and why should I invite this person?
Well, this is, I'll just move this. So that was Quentin Ron Quartel, or Quentin Ronald Quartel. Some people also know him as Quentin Quartel. And, well, Quentin is the father of FAST. FAST is fluid adaptive scaling technology. So minimal structure, kind of open space, way of organizing people's, how is it that we're working together? It's a flow system. It's fantastic, 6 pages long. And Quentin is probably the person that over the past couple of years has been teaching me the most about all the mechanics, all the tiny bits and tricks of why is it that Agile is as Agile is. and why is it that fast is so much better way of working. And that comes out as a prescriptive element of well, you have to do it like that. No, fast is a way of doing it. And when reading it, if you pick 90% of it or 2% of it, you will still be making things a tiny bit better. And it works.
Yeah, I really like that way of looking. It's incredible the number of people who've been talking about fast in the last year and maybe 2 or 3 years already. So it's a lot of people have been trying it out and are really happy. So yeah.
And if this ends up being published before the last 2 weeks of February, well, there's an online course, 4.5 days. Reach out to me, LinkedIn, or through the email, and I'll give you a 200 euro discount for attending. So it's only 600 euros.
I need to look up the dates. I don't know it by heart, but I
No,
doubt it will be.
let's see if it is, and if not, then yeah.
People have bad luck, and then they can still reach out to you, but
still reach out, then they can come on to the next one.
Exactly. So I want to go to that next person. Who is this?
Yes, this is Pete Olivier Kruger, and Pete has written I haven't had this here, but along with Michael, a fantastic book called Shift from product to people. And we've been talking a lot about product focus, and as they're saying, well, yeah, that's okay, but let's move it into looking at how good we are at people. And Pete is a fantastic brain, and he can talk about probably 20 things. And he's also created the library of Agile, which is a fantastic place to go and take a look at. It's so filled with fantastic stuff. So Pete would be fantastic to get into.
As someone who read a lot of books, I'm really into that. I'm really looking forward to
and
hear about
he's
that.
really sharing. He's really good at sharing. So fantastic.
So great. And let's talk about this next person. Who's this next person?
That's Michael. And Michael is well, he's the guy that Doherty written the book together with Pete. Shift. The thing is with Michael, he's also knowledgeable, and he's actually one of the most knowledgeable persons that I know that's always an orange shirt at the big conferences. So he's standing, guiding people around and having hallway conversations. So so many hallway conversations, and he's also going in a lot of different directions. So fantastic.
Really wonderful to hear about all these kind of people who are wonderful. Let's bring up the next one. It's not over yet, but who's this?
Yes, this is John Inge Hervik from Norway, and John Inge is the one that currently reminded me of transactional analysis. So the part about talking adult to adult, and if someone goes into child, well, then the other probably ends up with
this book. That's the one I've learned about it. Transactional analysis.
Exactly.
Really wonderful book. Yeah.
And it's, for me, it's one of the new explanations. Beside that, John Inge is so filled with kindness, and he is, well, not just transactional analysis. That's just the part that I learned from him over the past year. He's also always part of the Norwegian coach camp, and I really like his style and his way of looking at the world. And I think he's the owner of Adventures with Agile Norway, and they're called something else now. But one of the most bright persons that I probably know.
Wow. Okay. That scares me to talk about him, but okay.
Well,
and then the last person that you had here. Who is this?
This is John Barrett. John Barrett is a fantastic friend from England. I think it's Mid England. He's been arranging the last 2 or 3 Agile Coach Camp UK, along with Caitlin Walker. Caitlin Walker with Clean Language could actually also be a person to invite. Fantastic, a woman as well. But John is also fantastic, and the thing is that he knows so many different things and is capable of integrating them together. And his way of both teaching but also communicating complex stuff in a very simple but not simple enough but not simpler than that way is also worth looking at and admire.
Wow, that's really, I'm really so happy that both at the same time you've invited like 6 people and we diminished the list from more than 30 people or about 30 people to only 6, and still is a lot. So a lot of people that I can contact and that I will send out some emails. Yeah, so it's really wonderful.
Well, it's
Beth,
wonderful that you take the time to do this, Eve. That is amazing, really amazing.
well, it's giving me lots of energy. What people don't know is that tonight we actually had to postpone this conversation for more than an hour because of things that happened at the client, and then you were not sure could you still do it, but yeah, I just know that these kind of things give me so much energy.
Same here.
Almost every time, but I was really looking forward to this conversation. Yeah, it's really wonderful for me. It's a way, especially these kind of years. Well, I have 3 children who they're still at home, but probably, let's say, I don't know, 3 to 5 years they will be gone. And so for me, it's a moment to connect with a lot of people, and at the same time not being all the time away at conferences. And of course, they're the age that they would say, "Bad, we don't care." But for me, it's more like I do care. I do care to.
Yeah.
They don't need me, and at the same time, I like to be around them and at least be supportive in some kind of way. And yeah, there is a moment that I could still take them with me to conferences, but that ship has passed as well. They're like, no, 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 we have lots. They actually have a much fuller agenda than I have. But for me, it's indeed from my own home. I can have this conversation with you, and yes. So after this, I can go back to my family. I can go back to and sleep in my own bed, and so I really like to do these kind of things, and still connect with my agile friends around the world. So really wonderful to do this.
It's
And
fantastic.
so we're now in talking for about 2 hours, a little bit over, but I'm not sure how long our pre-conversation was. For the people that want to connect with you, what is a good way to connect with you?
Well, as I'm saying, well, just send me an email. So it's
Mm-hmm.
my first name at my last name .dk, because I'm from Denmark. So per@beining.dk. So that's one way, and the other one is definitely connect on LinkedIn. And if we haven't met,
This should be your LinkedIn connection.
exactly. Thank you so much for that. And the thing is, if we haven't met before, just write one tiny sentence in regards to, well, I saw you on Eve's Who's Agile or something else. Sometimes I'm
I
connecting with people and asking back, how are things at your end? And then it's radio silence. So if we're connecting, hopefully there is something that at least we could share with each other. So
Yeah, I do want to add that these days LinkedIn makes it a lot harder to add a message, because if you don't have a paid account, it's actually then you have a very limited amount of people that you can connect with a message. It's just completely insane if you ask me. And I noticed, but because of Who's Agile, I'm connecting with
ah,
gazillion people. I have also a couple of other community things where I want to connect with the people, and so yeah, I'm basically this is the end of January that we're recording it, so I'm out of connections already for a long time. I think it's about per month, And yeah, I'm pretty sure by the end of the first week in February, I will be out of connections where I can add a message, which is pretty insane if you ask me.
and
So
it's just, well, when we're connected, then just send a line. Hi, how are you doing? Or what's cooking at your end? Or I'm interested in this. So at least use the connection for something other than just bumping up numbers.
Yeah, I think that's indeed why for me we should use LinkedIn to connect and have conversations, not just for bumping up numbers. That's yeah. I think both of us, we don't like numbers just for numbers. We like to the real reality around these things. So much better. Like I said, wonderful conversation. Thanks for
Thank you
taking
so
that
much.
time. And I do hope that we'll run into each other again at the conference, if it's Benelux or if it's somewhere else, online or offline. We'll definitely keep in touch. And will invite you for the next book project. Actually, there's a couple of them already on the way, either in spirit or actually been going on. So watch out for the next invite for one of these projects.
And an invitation could be, well, if you dare to come to the Agile Coach Camp in Denmark. That's mid-May, I think it is. That's
That
at least
will, yeah, it will depend on the days, because it's May might still work, but it depends a little bit, because my children are at university. I do want to be at home when they're having exams and in the period just
totally.
before. So I know that June is off limits. July, depending a little bit on when it's. May, that I don't know by heart. That really depends a little bit. What we can see. Anyway, I'm pretty sure that even if that's not the case, we'll definitely run into each
We
other
will see each
at a
other.
different room. So
Nice.
have a nice time.
Thank you so much, Eve. Thank you for doing this. It's been a pleasure. And thank you for all the fantastic questions.
Thank you for watching Who's Agile, where the stories of agilists come to life. I hope you liked today's interview. Subscribe if you're not subscribed and want to get to know other agilists.